Thank you so much, and thank you for joining the presentation. We are a vertical SaaS tech company, and our vertical is surgery. So before I go into talking about what we do, I wanted to talk about surgery first, because it's a market that is not fully transparent. So surgery was first conducted over 8,000 years ago. So people were trying to heal other people by cutting them open or fixing up things that were not being fixable in other ways. And we are talking about the start of modern-day surgery around the 1850s with anesthesia. So when we were able to put this patient to sleep and then operate on them, which is a little bit more comfortable for the patient. And actually, surgery is one of the biggest success stories of modern-day medicine. So 100 years ago, there were around 30, 40 million surgeries every year conducted. This year, next year, we have between 350 and 500 million major interventions globally. And that's while still 6 billion people on the planet do not have access to surgery. So it's a massive growth story. And it's also, after pharma, actually the second largest spend of healthcare. So 29 cents on a dollar that we're spending in healthcare is going into surgical therapy. So these are facts that a lot of people do not fully see and understand, which makes our vertical a very sizable one. So in the EU, we're spending $1 trillion on surgery. In the US, $1 trillion on surgery. And it's obviously a very big part of hospital revenue and gross margins. And it's life-saving. So surgery is usually done on people that actually need it and have a critical situation in their healthcare situation. And it's used to treat cancer. It's used to treat cardiovascular diseases, orthopedic, gastro. And actually, with living longer, we can only expect the number of surgeries to increase, because just our bodies are not made to live 100, 120, 150 years. And so it's an important area. Now to the challenges and to the reason of us founding Caresyntax about 10 years ago. So while we have this 500 million surgeries, around almost 10% of those do not end in the patient going out alive of the operating room. So there's a lot of risk in the operating room, a lot of variability. And between 25 and 50% of these complications, of this variability, is actually preventable with modern systems. And that's the state of the industry. And of course, the question is why? So if we're spending $2 trillion on surgery, on medtech, on devices, so many smart people around, why do we have this massive variability in costs and waste in the system? And the answer is that there are very limited data-driven tools around. So surgery is actually conducted today in an operating room, many times the same way as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, by a surgeon coming in to the operating room, not really knowing much about the patient, operating on the patient without software tools, without guidance tools, without risk management tools, and then leaving the operating room, never seeing the patient again. And that's something that in other industries, such as commercial airline industry or the automotive industry or industrial manufacturing, we have solved, as humanity has solved, through software solutions that enable better planning, that enable risk mitigation, that enable communication between different stakeholders, and that just limit this variance that can lead to catastrophic outcomes in surgery, complications, death, but that also leads to a massive amount of waste. So we estimate, not we, but actually governments estimate that about 30% of the costs that are going into surgical therapies is just to pick up the pieces of the variance, reoperating on the same patient, taking care of things that didn't go well. And again, it's not because of the motivation of the surgeon and the surgical teams. They're extremely hardworking. I know I've met probably thousands of surgeons over the last few years, nurses and other people around surgery. They are highly motivated. They want the best for the patient, but they simply do not have the tools that we are used to even in our personal lives with integrated software systems. And very important in the context of innovation around sustainability, surgery and healthcare overall is also a massive contributor to carbon emissions. So surgery has a massive carbon footprint. Operating rooms produce 40% of healthcare emissions, which are around 5% of global emissions, and a lot of that is waste. So what have we done as Caresyntax over the last 10 years? We have mainly gone to market with a proposal to collect more data, to collect more primary and high-quality data in the operating room. So our solution literally connects the medical devices, collects videos, collects other information in the operating room that has previously not been connected, and puts it together with information we can collect before and after the surgery about the patient into what we call a high-fidelity surgical record. So maybe going back to the initial comparison to commercial airline, it's a kind of a black box for surgery, all the information in one place. And with that information, you can do a lot of interesting things. You can do risk modeling, you can do prediction, and obviously you can develop algorithms that make sure that the variance doesn't happen in the first place. And all that can then lead, if deployed correctly, to better outcomes and more efficiency. And I have 2 short videos here that I wanted to show of what we today do in the operating room for the surgeon. So this is sorry, I should have warned you, but there's not a lot going on here. It's just to show a brief snippet of basically a kind of lane assist type tool where it's shown to the surgeon whether or not it's safe to move forward with the surgery and conduct a clipping operation. So you can see here, if the tip of the clipper is not visible, you're not safe to move forward because you could puncture an artery or a nerve. If it's visible, you're safe to go ahead. So these are simple tools. 99% of the cases are not available. With our solutions, you can bring that into the operating room. Because we have the data, we can also help the management of the hospital. We can help the insurance companies to understand risk, to pay for performance, etc. So we can kind of create an industrial-style environment from a management perspective, really focused on efficiency first. This here, part of our software, it's kind of a management dashboard software. And what we see is that if you increase the efficiency in surgery, you also increase the quality. So it's a kind of Toyota principle in a way. If you have very well-run processes, and if you understand how the team works together, surgery is kind of a team sport, then you can dramatically improve consistency of outcomes, and you can reduce wastage, increase the usage of the operating room and the scarce resources we have, and essentially drive down the variance, drive down the risk, and improve the likelihood of a good outcome, the first case, which is very, very important because if a surgery goes wrong in the first instance, the chances of recovery go down dramatically. And many of us and our teams have experienced that themselves. So what is the return on investment for our clients, hospitals? That's very important. Surgery is the main revenue driver. If you have a well-run operating block, you're profitable as a hospital, so we can improve your profit margins. We can obviously reduce wastage. On the one hand, we can, which is now becoming more important, reduce the carbon footprint and essentially, create a more sustainable ecosystem for surgery. Thank you very much.